The Assad regime falls. The Syrian Quagmire, a potential trap for Western powers. Part 1. The regime falls. What happened? In the coming weeks, terrorist rebels will divide up territories, influence administrations. The poker table is open and the pot is very rich. It is the night between 7 and 8 December 2024. The Arab Republic of Syria, ruled by Bashar al-Assad, falls. This moment marks a milestone in history that could make all the difference for the future of the entire world. What the hell just happened? The swift collapse of Assad's regime in Syria is a puzzle of military strategy, geopolitical maneuvering, and possibly secret agreements. The Syrian army was instructed to withdraw from strategic locations like Aleppo and Hama, not out of defeat, but as a calculated retreat. This was not a mutiny or a rout. The army simply ceded territory to avoid a costly urban battle where the enemy, primarily al-Qaeda-linked groups, had broken through key defenses like the M4 highway. How could the Syrian army surrender so much territory in a matter of days? The Syrian military faced overwhelming odds, fighting on multiple fronts against Turkey, the US, Israel, and various terrorist factions. The decision to withdraw was to conserve human resources in a nation with limited military-age population. Additionally, the involvement of Hezbollah in its own conflicts with Israel and Russia's preoccupation with Ukraine left Syria with diminished support. The Syrian army chose strategic retreat over a futile stand that would have led to mass casualties and potentially the quicker fall of Damascus. How did it happen that years of diplomatic and secret agreements, with the deployment of foreign armed forces and the activation of known and hidden military bases, collapsed in a matter of hours? The rapid disintegration of Syria's military posture can be attributed to a combination of internal military restructuring, external pressures, and possibly a grand bargain among global powers. Syria was caught in a web of international interests where each player, from Russia to the US, Turkey to Israel, pursued their own strategic goals. The fall of Aleppo and Hama suggests either a catastrophic failure of intelligence or, more controversially, an orchestrated event allowing for a new power distribution in the region. What happened behind the scenes? Behind this fall might lie undisclosed agreements or shifts in international alliances. Speculations include a deal where Russia's focus on Ukraine was traded for US influence in the Middle East. The lack of significant intervention from Russia and Iran, coupled with Turkey's and Israel's aggressive territorial expansion, suggests a coordinated, if not openly acknowledged, realignment of Middle Eastern politics. Possible scenarios based on current information. Syrian Democratic Republic, an unlikely but possible outcome where opposition factions form a government under international supervision to maintain Syrian unity. Islamic Republic of Syria, HTS, with its roots in al-Qaeda, could lead to a state with a Salafist orientation, potentially aligning with, or at least, not opposing Israel and Western interests. Anti-Shiite state. Israel might seek to establish a state in opposition to Iran, aimed at isolating Hezbollah. Federal Republic of Syria, a scenario where the US could push for a federalized system, effectively balkanizing Syria into manageable parts. Disintegration, the most troubling scenario where ongoing conflict leads to Syria's total collapse into smaller, warring factions. What will become of Syria and its people? The ancient city of Damascus, a symbol of resilience and cultural diversity, now faces an uncertain future. The Syrian populace is caught between international ambitions and local strife. The economic lifeline of oil and gas controlled by the US in eastern Syria, poses significant governance challenges for any new regime. The immediate future involves a scramble for power among various armed groups, each with different backers and ideologies. The spiritual message from Sophoniae in 1983 calls for prayer and unity, a stark contrast to the division and fear now pervading the country. With Israel's strategic moves and Turkey's neo-Ottoman aspirations, the Syrian people face not just political upheaval but the potential erasure of their historical identity. What emerges from this chaos remains to be seen, but the immediate outlook is one of division, struggle, and a profound need for peace and unity. Conclusion: the fall of Bashar al-Assad's regime in Syria on December 17, 2024 signifies a watershed moment not just for Syria, but for global geopolitics. The strategic withdrawal of the Syrian army from key cities like Aleppo and Hama was a response to an overwhelming combination of military pressure from multiple fronts and possibly secret international agreements. This has led to a power vacuum now being filled by various terrorist and rebel groups, each backed by different regional and global powers, setting the stage for a complex and potentially volatile future. The scenarios for Syria's future range from a united democratic republic under opposition control to a fragmented nation-state, or even a complete disintegration into chaos. The involvement of Israel, Turkey, the US, and Russia hints at a broader game of geopolitical chess, where Syria is both the board and a significant piece. The occupation of strategic territories by Israel and Turkey post-collapse suggests a reconfiguration of regional influence, aiming at long-term objectives like Greater Israel or a neo-Ottoman revival. For the Syrian people, this represents not just a change in governance, but a profound challenge to their cultural, religious, and historical identity. The city of Damascus, with its millennia-old heritage, now stands at the mercy of new powers with ambitions that might not align with the unity and diversity it has historically embodied. The immediate future likely holds more conflict, economic hardship, and a humanitarian crisis, with the specter of another refugee exodus looming large. Amidst this turmoil, the spiritual call for unity and prayer from Sophoniae echoes a poignant reminder of the human cost of geopolitical games. Syria's path forward will be determined by how these various factions and their international backers negotiate, fight, or compromise over the nation's future, with the Syrian people's resilience and desire for peace being tested like never before. Part 2. Did Russia create a trap for Western powers? The Syrian Quagmire, a potential trap for Western powers. Syria has long been a chaotic tinderbox, a complex landscape where the meme of Pentagon-backed rebels fighting CIA-backed rebels illustrates the absurdity of foreign interventions. This situation could very well be a strategic trap for the United States and its Western allies. Syria's strategic importance cannot be overstated. It's pivotal for securing Israel, aiming to dismantle Iran's influence, and as a key route for gas and oil pipelines from Qatar to the Mediterranean. The allure of controlling this region might compel Western powers to pour in vast resources to maintain their grip on this prize. This means deploying more troops, supplying additional weaponry, and providing support to jihadi groups, many of whom are mercenaries from diverse backgrounds like Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, and among the Uyghur population. These fighters, driven by financial incentives rather than loyalty, could easily switch sides if Russia, Iran, or China offers a better deal. This scenario presents an opportunity for Russia, Iran, China, and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization (SCO) to strategically push Western influence out of the Middle East, fulfilling a long-term goal of altering the regional power dynamics. The recent unexpected victory by a coalition of rebels in Syria raises questions about how such an outcome was achieved. Could it have been a strategic lure? Reflecting on historical U.S. foreign policy, particularly the Wolfowitz Doctrine of 1993, which was crafted at the height of U.S. global dominance, the aim was to maintain this unipolar moment. Yet, 32 years later, the U.S. finds itself further from achieving this new American century. Russia has emerged as a formidable adversary, China's containment has failed, and Iran's regime change has not been realized. The loss in Ukraine and the strategic retreat from Georgia highlight a shift in global power. The apparent victory in Syria might not be a triumph, but rather a trap reminiscent of the Soviet Union's fate in Afghanistan, lured into a conflict that drained resources and morale until collapse. Sergei Karaganov, an advisor close to Vladimir Putin, has articulated a strategy of facilitating the U.S. transition from global hegemon to just another major power, aiming for a peaceful shift while containing European influence. In this context, the maneuvers in Syria align with broader geopolitical ambitions. The implications of this scenario for global economics and politics are significant. There could be an uptick in energy prices due to potential disruptions in Middle Eastern oil supplies, with instability possibly spreading to nearby nations like Lebanon. This might lead to increased costs for oil and precious metals, a further weakening of Western currencies such as the euro, yen, and pound, with the dollar potentially holding its ground better. Interest rates might rise, particularly in Europe, Britain, and Japan, with less impact than the U.S. Since the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan, the market has seen a decline in German bunds, British gilts, and U.S. treasuries. However, U.S. treasuries have fallen about half as much as their European and British counterparts over the last 3 years, indicating that the U.S. might be using Europe and Britain as a geopolitical cushion in this complex global chess game. Conclusion: the Syrian conflict represents not just a battleground of local factions, but a potential strategic trap for Western powers, echoing historical pitfalls like the Soviet experience in Afghanistan. The allure of securing strategic interests in the region could lead to a drain on resources, both military and economic, with the added complexity of dealing with mercenary forces whose loyalties are for sale. This situation could serve the interests of Russia, Iran, and China in pushing Western influence out of the Middle East, thereby reshaping the geopolitical landscape. The recent unexpected shifts in Syria might be the beginning of a long-term strategy to manage the decline of U.S. hegemony, potentially leading to economic repercussions like higher energy prices and currency fluctuations. As history teaches us, the pursuit of short-term gains in such complex conflicts can lead to long-term strategic losses, possibly accelerating the transition towards a multipolar world order. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, share, and like the video. Check out these other From the Other Side specials.